Hey guys, so this is part two on being infinitely powerful in the Infinite Power series. So if you've been watching my channel, you know that a lot of the stuff I do on this channel is just videos of spiritual power. And basically I just have lots of videos which just show how I've done spiritual power and control the elements, basically control all the different types of elements with aerokinesis, telekinesis. But actually lately I've been doing stuff way beyond this, which I have not been filming. And basically I've reached power beyond energy. And the point is, like, I've gone past just physical energy to the point of magic and karma, to where I have infinite power, and I literally have infinite power, and like I can control infinite amount of energy, because physical energy is below the dimension of karma and magic, and one finite amount of karma is an infinite amount of energy, basically, because karma and magical power is just a universal form of energy. So for every bit of karma and virtue, there's literally an infinite amount of energy. And you think about it like this, like basically, originally, primordially, everyone has this like infinite amount of energy and infinite actions, because every time someone makes an action, every time someone does an action, that's going to cause infinite reactions. And so, and every action has infinite causes. And so this is like the karma, and the karma is fire, basically. And like this fire, like the god of fire is Agni and Lord Kaulu. And like Lord Kaulu, I made a video about him earlier. He's all powerful and he controls fire, and Kaulu is related to that. And Agni, and so there's lots of deities like this that basically represent these infinite power. And one of them, of course, would be Agni, the fire god, and he is all fire. And I also call him Agnizaku, is another name I use, but this specifically refers to the infinite fire of the entire macrocosm, that supreme deity. And so he basically, like, one can worship Agni, Agnizaku, and Kaulu, Agnizaku. Agni is like basically, and he definitely helped me, and he showed me his power, and like I've used him to do incredible miracles. Like I said, I literally caused the volcanoes to erupt using Agnizaku in Hawaii recently. I was writing it, like, because I can do this thing called the future note, or life note. It's like a death note from the anime Death Note. But instead of killing people necessarily, well, it can kill people too. I've killed people using it lots of times, but it also can just manipulate the elements and can manipulate people and do anything just by writing about it as a spell. And so that's an example of infinite power. Like, it's going beyond mere energy to controlling this karma, this like karma force of the universal virtue. And like I said, so everyone has infinite energy. It's just only certain people can actually access it, and that's based off karma and virtue, and like gods and angels and whatnot can actually access it, because all actions, whatever actions are taken, will bring forth infinite reactions automatically, and the mind itself is infinite, basically. And so then Shiva, Lord Shiva, is another deity associated with infinite energy and infinite power, and he's famous for having this thing which is like an infinitely tall column of fire, and like in Hinduism, and it shows Shiva in this column of fire that's goes infinitely high up and infinitely far down, column of fire, and that represents how he's all powerful, infinitely powerful. And then here's another one, deity associated with infinite power and infinite strength, is Adi Shesha Naga, or Shesha Naga. And basically, like, this relates to the sun god and the stars also. But basically, Shesha Naga is this like basically macrocosmic entity of the supreme God, which like is all over the place on all the stars. Every in like I like to think of all every single star is like one of the crowns on his hoods that just spans the entire multiverse, and he's just this all powerful, infinite strength deity of Shesha Naga. And Nagas also that also relates to strength and magical power. Like Lord Voldemort in the Harry Potter series, I had a lot of snakes and stuff related to him, and that's because Naga is like a representation of magical power and strength as a snake, like a living magic, basically. And that's Eddie Shesha Naga has infinite amount of magical and spiritual and like miracle power, and this infinite power is used to do miracles and do good deeds. And then obviously can't really talk about infinite power without talking about the sun and the stars, because all the energy, almost all the energy in the whole universe, the vast majority of it, belongs to the stars and is the stars. So obviously the sun god is all powerful, and God himself is the sun god and rules over all the stars. So the chief sun god, Upendra, like Vamana, Aditya, supreme god, like and sun god, rules over infinite stars and all the worlds. Every single person, every living being revolves around a star. So he rules over all the living beings, all the stars, and all the worlds, countless heavenly areas and spirits, and like so the star, like obviously the sun god and stars is the source of infinite power, and each star has infinite energy, and there's an infinite number of stars, and they have infinite karmic power, spiritual power, and higher dimensions as well. So one should like meditate and like try to on like I like to think of like Adi Shesha Naga connecting all these stars, because all these stars are connected, right? Through like basically they're like brain cells. I like to think of it like that, of like the Archangel Michael and of the Supreme God, and connecting all these stars together through like there's gravity tunnels and light tunnel. Like there's literally connections between these stars that's caused by gravity, like distortions in space, and spiritual energy is flowing in between them. And so the stars are infinitely powerful. Each sun is infinitely powerful, and there's an infinite number of stars. And obviously, no one is even powerful enough to destroy a star. Obviously, because the stars are immortal and they're like all powerful entities. They're living entities, and basically only the Supreme God can rule over all the stars. And but they are good. Like the stars are all good, and they can give people power and like awaken someone's inner power, or give someone infinite power, and help them in their magic or spells or their spiritual works, just using the stars, right? And so another thing that's important is just meditation. Obviously, like one has to focus on the Great Way, and which is the yin yang, getting in between yin yang and both yin and yang as a balance of black and white, yin yang, like basically beyond yin and yang to that like neutral way of infinity and eternity, and like the one of all, and unite one's mind with everything and God to get that infinite power. And also, like I said, you have to think about karma. So another deity associated with this infinite power would be Shani, the god of karma, because karma itself is infinite power and infinite magical power. So Shani, the god of karma, obviously has infinite magical power, and magic, obviously, and karma power is a higher level of spiritual power than physical energy, because physical energy is just basically distortions in space, But then the spiritual power, which is magical and karma related, is infinitely more than just physical energy. It has all these reactions, infinite reactions, and it's spiritual and can cover vast distances. So like one has to unite their mind in meditation with the macrocosm, obviously too, beyond the um, beyond the cosmic realm, even further than that, to the macrocosm of the great void and pre-celestial like Tao, basically. And with the way, obviously, one can then use this karma power. And then another thing is, obviously, it just takes practice. It just takes practice, and like obviously, like I said, I've been working on. I was trying to control all the elements and working on that, and I've been doing that for a while now, controlling wind, water, fire, controlling life forms like birds, and using the all-knowing. Obviously, it can really help to get that infinite power. Is to use the oracle and the all-knowing. And so, like basically, once I establish my connection with all the elements, and obviously doing good deeds too, by doing good deeds and worshiping God, and I establish my connection and power over the elements, and then that's omnikinesis, and so I have established power over all the elements. And so then I moved on to the next thing, which was this thing like I was talking about with magic, actual magic. And like I said, I made the nor'easter storm. Recently, there was a storm which like killed 9 people, and it swept across the entire entire eastern seaboard of the Atlantic, of the entire east coast of America, and killed 9 people. And I actually made that storm using magic. And I also did many other things. And another thing which I found helped me out is keeping miracle journals. Like I've been making records of all these miracles I've been doing and writing them down, and that helps me to look back over that and establish this thing called honor. Like honor basically is what I call it, or pride you might call it, which is can help someone if they're losing faith, if you doubt yourself, then just look back on your honor and what you know you already have done already. So that's why it helps to make a miracle journal and write down that kind of thing. And also I keep these things of honor mementos, and they're basically like infinity stones, which is funny. I just saw it right here, yeah. And I call them honor mementos or whatever. And like whenever I do a grand jutsu, I take a little memento from that, like a little thing that I find. I just keep finding these marbles or whatever, and that will just remind me of how awesome that grand jutsu was. Like whenever I do a really powerful magical spell, it's really amazing. I usually just keep a little memento from that to remind me of how awesome that is, as a to honor memento, basically like these infinity stones, basically. And also, of course, another thing is to have infinite power, one has to basically be well established as a wizard and as an immortal. Like if someone's immortal, that obviously gives them way higher levels of power and higher dimensions of power just by being immortal and being a sage. And like obviously, so it takes time and takes practice to get to that higher level of power. And like I said, the way I've been doing it recently, a lot of time, is I'll just cause things by writing them. Like I could write a little story and make it come true in real life, and that's an example of infinite power, basically, because there's no limits to what I can do in that. I recommend obviously and serving God and doing good deeds, doing that. So yeah, thank you.